A while ago, I made a video around how you can customize some of the aspects of the Synthstrom Deluge. A handful of people reached out after and said that they would love to see something similar around synthesizers specifically, and that's what this video is all about. Somebody said that you can approach video making on YouTube either as an architect, where everything is pre-planned, or as an archaeologist, where you sort of start digging and then see where that takes you. This video will be a little bit of both, but probably a little bit more archaeologist than architect. I'll just dive right in. We'll start by making a simple drum set. Pardon the click. And I'll use some of the custom samples that I have made. So go into Kit, Shift, Kit, makes it new. Let's find, I have a folder here with just my own samples loaded in. That one sounds good. And then empty row, Kit again, and that opens up the next sound. Let's find a good snare drum. This one's cool. Let's do that again for a hi-hat. I think I heard something that sounded nice. Yeah, this one. And all these samples are just from music that I found online, or every so often I'll find like a tutorial for how to use a vintage drum machine, or maybe a demo of something that someone's selling on eBay or whatever it may be. But it's a good way of finding interesting samples that sound good. That's a good start. Okay, so let's make a very simple beat. Dum, dum, dum. I think I have to adjust some of the settings around the release. Yeah, that's cool. And maybe a little bit of the filter as well. I like adding a little bit of reverb to my snares. And by clicking this one down, you can cycle between small, medium, and large. I think large is good for what we're doing. Let's add a little bit of sidechain to the whole thing, which we won't hear yet, but we will hear later when we add the second track, which will be another kit. This one we'll just go with the preset and turn the whole track all the way down so you can't really hear it. Now when I press play, the sidechaining of this one will affect the track we just made with my samples. That's too fast, but it sounds pretty cool. Yeah, something like that. Too much reverb on the snare. Let's go change it. Just change the level a little and a little bit of the filter. We can change the probability, the likelihood. We want it to play, let's say we want this last kick drum to play every 4 out of 4. Yeah. So it's almost like a fill-in. Does that mean it happens now? Yeah, okay, cool. I also saw this thing where if you press shift, the instrument you want to affect, and then the up and down scroll bar, you can change the color. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but it's like a fun thing that you can do. And you can do the same thing for your synth tracks. So we're gonna make a synth now, but we'll come back to the color later. Starting by shift synth to make a new one. Make something, I think it's a square wave. It doesn't sound amazing, but it sounds okay. Shift and then type. We wanna set this to saw. This would be a subtractive synth as opposed to the ring mod or the FM. I'm just more comfortable with the subtractive ones, and they sound the way I want them to sound. So that was the first oscillator, but we want to add a second one. So if we just make sure that the type is what we're after, square is good. We can change the level down here. Okay, that's good. And what I want to do is change the pulse width of the second one. Yeah, something like that, but I don't want it to be static. So while this is blinking, shift and then LFO1, and I want to dial it in so it's, I don't know, Yeah, and if you, I don't know how clearly you can hear it there, but it will modulate over time. And now I'm just slowing down the rate a little of the LFO to make it a little bit slower and a little bit, just drawn out. Let's do something similar with the filter. I did this in the past video too, but it's sort of how I approach every synth. Okay, but by pressing Shift frequency, you can see exactly what number you dialed it into, or what where the filter is. But you can change this by Shift and LFO again, and maybe let's do it in reverse, because we can do that too. That way, if something else is using that same LFO, it will go in reverse and make it sound a little bit more unique. -16 sounds good. Let's change the rate. Oh yeah, I guess the same rate, that's fine. It's a little bit too deep now, but you can hear how it sort of whooshes in and out. Let's go back to the frequency, and this one, let's set it to, I don't know, maybe -8. Great. Let's look at the envelope for this one. Shift, envelope down here. Let's start with the attack. I mean, I want it to be a short attack, but not too clicky, so maybe 1 is fine. The decay and sustain, we can just... It doesn't make a ton of a difference, I guess. There we go, that's cool. And then for the release, let's make it slightly longer, like 15. Yeah, I like that. This is by default poly synth, so you can play like chords, which I think is fine for this one. I often mix it up a little, so I have poly and a mono for the lead sound, mono, yeah, I guess, for the lead sounds, and by layering it and making a couple of different types of synths, it can sound a bit richer and fuller. Something short like this will obviously work really well as an arpeggio, I think. One thing that we can do is by pressing Shift and, let's see, number here under the voice. We can set how many voices are in each individual note. And by default, they're a little bit detuned. And if you go to the detune, right underneath, you can set how detuned they are from each other. And having more voices and spreading them out a little makes the sound a lot fatter, but to a point where I think it takes up a little bit too much space. So let's experiment and see what we find. Yeah, 10 sounds good. Can add a little bit of delay again. By clicking down the golden encoder, we will switch between normal and ping pong. Ping pong has a nice stereo field width to it. Let's add a little bit of reverb to this one too. That sounds nice to me. If we open up the piano roll, maybe? I don't know what they call it, but yeah. Let's see what we have. We can set some sidechain too, because that typically melds things together in a nice way. Yeah. Let's try that. Okay, and let's finish that recording. And we know that it went on for a little bit too long, but that's okay. Not song, here's where we want to be, the regular song mode. And if I remove the piano roll, I can see exactly how my notes are played out. But it went on for too long. Yeah, 5. I want it to be 4. So Shift and the side scroll bar lets me adjust the length of this. And One thing that I learned pretty late in the game was I don't have to start at the beginning every time. So if I listen to this, so let's say I wanted to change this one, and for whatever reason I want to hear it in situ, like in the context of everything else that's happening on the different tracks, I can just press, let me think, get the order right, the side scroll and the play. See, and it starts it right there, as opposed to if I just press play, where it will start at the beginning. So I want to change this note and see, again, I want to listen with the drums and everything. Yeah, and we can add, let's try adding a little bit more. Something like this. Like this. Okay, let's change the delay time, or sorry, the delay amount a little. A lot of what I do when I make a track is experimentation, without planning too much, because I think it becomes more interesting and more fun, more than anything. While still in the synth track, I can press shift and up and down scroll, and I can change the color of all the notes again, which is a fun little feature if you just want to customize things a little bit more. Let's try adding some chords that would sound good. So we'll start a new track, make sure that it's a new synth, and I want to make sure that we have a saw synth, so go in and change the type for oscillator 1. Sounds good. Well, it doesn't sound good yet, but it will. Let's go into the piano roll. We want to change the envelope a little. I think you can do it by just pressing here in the audition pads and going straight to where you want to go. So you don't have to actually hold down shift every time. Let's have a slower attack on this one, and a slightly longer release. This is where we want to get into the number. Fatten it up a little bit more. So 8 voices per note, and we'll change the detune. Go slightly higher to 18. I think that sounds good, and increase the sidechain again quite high. So helpful to have the preset scales, and obviously by clicking the scale you can turn that on and off, or you can, I think it's shift and scale, and you can switch between the different versions, but we had it set to major, so let's just leave it there. I want to change the sidechain ever so slightly. So if I look at this sidechain here, shift, release, slow that down a little. And I also want to change the depth of it ever so slightly. Sidechain volume duck is, oh crap. Here we go. And the attack, I want that to be pretty fast. Add a little bit of delay again. Make sure that it's ping-ponged. Lower this. That sounds really pretty to me. Okay. Now we need to find a couple of chords. I think we started here. Maybe I should go down a little. By clicking the gold encoder here for the filter, I can switch between high pass and low pass. If it's a high pass, I can remove some of the lower end, which will hopefully not clash too much with what we already have in place. So if we try something like this. The sidechain is a little bit overwhelming. Let's dial it down, and let's just record a quick passage here. Okay, it sounds okay. I think I made a mistake or two in there. Yes, this one, for instance. You can change, obviously, the duration of each note by just holding down on the initial, where the note starts, and then going like this, tapping at the end, making it longer or shorter. We can also press down the sideways scrolling encoder and rotate it to sort of zoom in to the grid and make really detailed adjustments there. But I don't think it makes too much of a difference for what we're doing here. Let's see what it sounds like. The attack seems a little bit too fast for me, so if we press shift attack, can slow that down a little bit more. A little bit too much. Did it disappear? Oh, that's why, because I had it on high pass filter. Okay, that gives us our chords and the ARPy sort of lead. Well, maybe more of an ARP than a lead. Maybe we should add something like a bass. Again, I think basses are best when they're quite simple and monophonic. That's why, what's it called, the old Moog synthesizers are so popular. They don't do a lot, but what they do really well. Shift, synth, make a new one. Shift type, make sure it's set to saw again, if I can find it. There we go. And under voice polyphony, shift voice polyphony, we'll just set it to mono. And porta, let's dial that up a little. Okay, we can add maybe 2 voices for this one, and the detune being very slight. I think the detune and the voices, the higher you go in just the number of voices per note, the more it sounds like a chorus. But that's pretty cool for a bass. By turning this, we can scroll down through the octaves, and we will just adjust settings for the envelope a little. See, that's where the attack gets a little clicky, so I set it to 1 or 2. That's cool. One other thing we can do is let's maybe introduce a square wave into that same bass. So we'll shift type square. It's great. And then for the oscillator 2, let's turn up the level. And for the pulse width, set it somewhere, I don't know, 20, 18. And we'll connect this to the random. So while this is still blinking, shift again, random, dial it up. Which should, if my calculations are correct, make it so that every time I hit a new note, the pulse width should be a little bit different. And we can do the same thing with the frequency. So shift frequency, sure, 35, but then also connect it to random, turn it up to. Great way to just make sure that things are evolving and changing, and just feeling a little bit less like a preset. A little bit of sidechain, tiny little bit of delay, and a little bit of reverb. I think the rate of the frequency to the random is a little bit too high, so let's dial it down just ever so slightly. Oh, and then click back until we're back out here. Yeah, that's nice. Let's see what we can come up with. Yeah, something like that. It's not amazing, but I think it will work. Same thing as before, we'll press shift and the length of this and we'll dial it back. Sometimes what I'll do, maybe I should do that here. Okay, so now we have the right length, I think. No, it's a little bit too long. There we go, 4. And I hear something crazy. No, maybe it's good. That works. If we go back out here, let's add another kit track, a new kit. And I want to find a tom. Oh, here. Maybe in here. Yeah, this is good. Perfect, yes. And before we even start, let's set this to be only to here. So by trimming it down half a length, I guess that would make it, instead of 4/4, it would be 3.5 out of 4 or 7/8. So if we just play something here. Oh, we're so zoomed in. Here we go. This is what we want. So we were zoomed in. Let's yes, now the length should be correct for 7/8. Let's record something. It overextended, but that's fine. So we'll just go back to where we were. We want it to be almost be 1, right? Yes, half a bar away from being 1 full 4/4 section. Now this is 7/8, so I guess it will take longer for it to go around a full lap and line up with everything else. And by doing it this way, obviously, like, it will feel a little bit more, more interesting things may happen, a little bit more polyrhythmic. But let's dial it in so it sounds good too. Maybe it's playing a little bit too often. So what we can do is, by pressing down on a note, turning this sideways and just saying we want a 65% likelihood of that note playing, 60% likelihood of that one. Going over here, let's call it 40 and I don't know, 70, sure. Are we at the right length? I'm unsure. No, we're not. Now we are. Turn up a little bit of sidechain. I hope that illustrates my point, right? It makes it a little bit more, there's something going on and it's harder to predict. I like to add a clap to just layer it with a snare. Makes the snare sound a little fatter, more interesting. No, this is the synth. Which one was the drum track again? Is it this one? No. Oh, it's this one. Yes. So a new instrument kit. We'll go back, and this is obviously just the file structure that I have. It will be different for you depending on what samples you load in, but I think we can find something. Maybe I used to have a Korg Volca back in the day, the Volca Beats, and it had a really nice clap. Okay, let's try this one. Yeah, I like this one. Perfect. Same thing as before. I think we need to adjust just the release of it. Make it ever so slightly shorter. Dial down the volume. Turn up a little bit of reverb. Sidechain can go up too. Another cool thing that you can do here, as opposed to directly in the analog drum machine, which is set in its ways many times, is you can go in and you can transpose a sample. So by going into, is it this one? Yes. Let's slow it down a little. Yeah. So that was transpose this one for the master, and then just clicking it again. Let's play it and see what it sounds like. Move it a little bit to the left or the right and the stereo field just to make it feel a little bit wider. This one, is it the bass that's doing something a little bit odd? Ah, that's what it is. This starting note is supposed to go there. Let's preview it from here. Yeah, I think that roughly covers it. We went through a lot, obviously, with this video and covered a lot of ground. But if there's anything you would like to see more of, or topics that we can discuss more in the future, please let me know. I got a lot of really positive feedback on the last video. I appreciate that a ton. It feels really encouraging and worthwhile to create videos when it's received so well. So thank you all for that. And yeah, we'll see you again for the next one. Thank you.